That we focus on three areas primarily. One is worship, small groups, and local missions. And our purpose is transforming lives for Jesus' sake, helping individuals experience that transformation. And we use these three areas, worship, small groups, and local missions, to help individuals experience that. You'll get a sense of who Newnan City Church is, and I hope that you'll come and worship with us soon. Take care, and God bless.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of this radio station, its management, or its sponsors. Listeners are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusions.
It's now time for Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison from Newnan City Church.
Good morning, Newnan. This is Jimmy Ellison. You're listening to Faith Works, where each week we have conversations with local leaders, people of faith, who are demonstrating that faith does indeed work. And I'm with my good buddy, Matt Morris. And Matt, I'm so glad you're on the show today.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming.
I know it. Are you scared?
I don't know what to expect right now, if I'm being honest.
Well, just to let everyone know, I told Matt nothing. He has no pre-questions.
That's true.
He has, he just is I told him, come on to be a guest, and just so we can hear a bit about Matt Morris and what makes him tick, and how you're in a season of your life right now where you're demonstrating that faith does indeed work. And so can't wait to hear. You're about to say something.
No.
You sure? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Feel free.
I'm following your lead because seriously, I've never done this before, so I'm like just kind of in awe of like, all right, this is fun.
Oh yeah. Well, I am going to. Let's just start off. You're from Griffin, Georgia.
I am.
What was it like growing up in Griffin, Georgia?
It's a very poor demographic. It's I don't know. It's I think it was great and growing at one point, but I don't know if it's as great and growing now. But I still love going back home. It's yeah. I think it was just really like, I'm the oldest of 7 kids, so like we didn't have a lot of money, so it was more probably felt more polarized as far as like the people that did have a little bit of money versus like those of us that didn't. So.
And you said 1 of 7. You're the oldest, right?
I am, yeah.
Man, what was it like having 6 younger? I mean, how do you go out? Or you just don't go? You don't go out.
We had a 15-passenger van.
You had a 15-passenger
because there was
van.
9 of us. So it was. I think like if you look at like a Tahoe or Suburban, I think it's like only like 7 or 8 seats. So my parents had to get the 15-passenger, so that way we could all fit in there legally. And then 2, if we wanted to bring a friend over to like spend the night or go out to eat with us,
funny.
like, yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And you guys were all musicians.
We were, or we are. Yeah.
And you play. Did your mom? I know your daddy played. Did your mom play also?
My mom actually played bass in their little Baptist church.
Like a stand-up bass?
No, I think it was like electric bass.
Electric bass?
Yeah. But I've never technically seen her play, so I don't know if it's like an urban legend or not.
It may be an urban legend.
It might be.
It very well may be.
Yeah.
Well, I know little of your story because, just full disclosure, Matt's our worship pastor at Newnan City Church and has become like family to Beth and me, he and Ashley. And so I know a lot of your story, of course, but one part of your story that I love, and I just found this out, I think, last week. You, on your own, dropped out of school, not because you didn't like it, not because it was terrible. You said, I'm going to drop out of school. You immediately took your GED, passed it, so that you could be on tour. Is that right? I mean, you're 17 years old and you're traveling the country.
Tour is a very loose word.
It is? Okay.
It's a very loose
Tell us
word.
about that season of life.
Marco, if you're listening to this right now, I didn't tell him I went on tour. Yeah, I was 17. I have never felt like I could shake the calling that's on my life. Mm-hmm. And at 17, I dropped out, applied to get my GED underage, and got it. And then went on the road with a traveling evangelist and his family, and played a mixture of modern worship at the time. So this was like 2004, 2005.
Lord, I lift your name on high.
Yeah, that was big back then. Yeah, House of the Lord and Days of Elijah and all
Days
that
of
stuff.
Elijah. Did you actually lead Days of Elijah?
I still don't know what the days are, so I'm just trusting that the song's theologically correct. But we did that, and then we would play like Southern gospel songs because that family grew up singing Southern gospel.
And you played guitar, I'm assuming?
I actually play guitar and mandolin.
Mandolin.
I did, yeah.
I'm learning something new.
Yeah, I don't profess to play it anymore because I don't think I remember how to play in the key of G. That's about it right now.
When I think of mandolin, I think of bluegrass.
Yeah.
I don't think of gospel.
Well, it wasn't for the gospel. It was more for I don't remember the name of the song, but it was like this modern worship song that was really popular at the time, and it had this like Irish jig to it. So we'd whip out the mandolin.
Yeah.
People get the warm fuzzies and
Yeah.
turn their lives over to Jesus. Like that's what would happen.
And so how many nights a week did you guys, were you out on the road?
So I can remember one in particular. We drove to Mississippi and did like a 5-night revival in Mississippi. And it was kind of weird because I think that's when I got really exposed to different denominations because I grew up Southern Baptist, but the majority of the time in the early 2000s, the only churches that were really open to corporate worship as we all kind of know today were more of like the Pentecostal or charismatic churches. So we coined the phrase Baptocostal. That's what we became.
Yeah, Baptocostals.
We didn't have a hard time with the flags or, the prayer cloths. I remember one of my buddies one time he was playing.
I'm not. Listen, just for the record, I'm not laughing at those things. I'm laughing.
I'm not laughing at those things either. I think they're very real.
Yes.
But I think like sometimes like when you put it in context, like something happening, like for example, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the guy. We had taken this bass player with us that was like, when I say like country is corn, like this dude was country, and he wore his bass all the way up to his neck. He looked like he was choking himself out or something. But he super country, super Southern Baptist, like the Southern Baptist. He was from Pike County, like that was country as it goes. And I remember these two ladies at one of these Pentecostal revivals came up to him, and they were on both sides of him. They were like, prophesy with your bass, and he looked terrified. So it's more of laughing at like the learning curve to like. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. That's great. So you did that, and you came back. When did you finish touring with the Evangelist?
That was probably around the time, like I did it for about a year, and then I would do it off and on after that for a little while. I ended up started like working with like they weren't like really big worship leaders in Atlanta after that, but they were doing like student camps and stuff. And then that led me to, I did an internship at Free Chapel in Gainesville. So I did that. Yeah.
How was that working with Brother Jansen?
So I only met him once. I mean, it's a really big church.
Yeah.
I worked for the student pastor, and that was the year that they did the Forward Conference the first time. So I got to be a part of like calling churches and like inviting them to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And then I got to go to TBN one night and hang out with Michael Youssef and Jensen Franklin. Like that was kind of cool. But they were really nice guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. Both those guys are super folks. Hey, now you've always though had your hand in music. I mean that's your calling, right? I mean, isn't that fair to say?
Yeah.
That I mean, God has gifted you with this amazing gift to lead, to sing, to play, and you are channeling that in the church.
Yeah. This is the first time in my life I have really embraced it and not been ashamed of it.
What do you mean by that?
I think, well, growing up, I mean, like growing up, we were Section 8 food stamps, like you name it, welfare. We were on it. I mean, that was, I think, if that hadn't existed, my family wouldn't have survived a lot of times. And so being that way, and then just seeing what the world measuring stick of success looks like.
Yeah.
So you've got that going on, and then I know recently I just I had to have a conversation with somebody and just say, like, I can't be ashamed of who God's called me to be. I don't know if I'm making this pressure up in my mind or if it's something I'm getting from you, but like I feel this pressure to succeed at what the world measures success at. But like I keep finding myself in this place where the way God measures success is totally different. So this is the first time in my life I feel at peace about it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. Well,
it feels weird. I'm going to say that.
And you met Ashley, your beautiful wife. That I love her so much. Where'd you meet her?
I met her. We were scheduled to play together at a church here in town.
Okay.
And
for those who don't know, and I've learned this, there are multiple musicians on the south side of Atlanta who may play at Church A on one Sunday,
yep,
and who play at Church B the next Sunday,
yep,
and who'll play at Church C the following Sunday, and then go back to Church A. I mean, it's almost I don't want to minimalize this, but it's like a gig.
It's definitely a circuit.
Yeah, and there's just tons of them. So, okay, here's 4 bass players, and
it's really no different than if you were in Nashville and playing on Broadway right now.
Yeah, yeah.
You might play at one bar one night, one bar the next night, one bar the next night.
Yeah, Broadway is a street, not a. When I hear Broadway, I think New York,
well.
But,
I mean, sorry.
Right.
Okay, everybody. In Nashville, there's this really cool place called Broadway.
It's a street.
It's a street, and that's where like all the old honky tonks are still in existence. So if you go to Nashville and you want to experience
10 a.m. in the morning, baby. They are playing.
Imagine.
All of them have music going at 10 a.m.
They love music more than I do because at 10 a.m. I'm just trying to wake up. So, but yeah, that's. It's not even just on the south side of Atlanta. It's Atlanta's probably the mecca for corporate worship, and it is a thing. If I would say within like probably 100-mile radius of Atlanta, all the way around, 9 times out of 10 churches are paying for musicians.
Right. And I know I want to be careful because I'm in the camp that if God is honoring it, I'm not going to be stepping on it. And when it comes to churches, and so I'm going to throw out, let's just say passion.
Yeah.
Are those musicians, I'm not talking about the lead guys, I'm talking about the folks who are playing keyboard, people on the drum. Are those pretty much set, or how does somebody like a passion, how does that church do musicians?
I've never played for Passion.
Yeah.
I've only met those guys a couple of times. I've never played with any of those guys, honestly. But each church has its own model for it. So Passion's model, I've heard good and bad things about it. Honestly, I don't have anything against their model at all. I think if their model works for them, it's great.
Yeah,
and the way
it is.
It's working. Like, I mean, but they do a 6-month kind of like trial run where
so if you're a drummer, you may get a 6-month stay there.
Right, and they kind of it's almost like an interviewing process.
Okay.
I think they pay you like a small honorarium, maybe like $50 or something, and then after you get through the 6 months, then they bring you on as more of like an official part of the team.
Okay.
And they don't book tons of different people all the time. That's what I love about their model is there's a very healthy aspect of they use basically the same band at their different campuses, but they try to vet people. Like they're very intentional about vetting, but they're also going to take care of their people as well.
Okay.
So,
well, I was just curious to see how they do it. And I know some of the other larger churches, the South Side's out there, and some of the other bigger, larger churches, they may use different musicians.
Yeah, but like even within North Point, I think the network inside of North Point is just basically a huge network, and all of those churches will use basically the same
group of people.
So it almost kind of feels like you're at the same church. You're just at different campuses.
You may play at Brown's
Brownsbridge
on one Sunday, and then Alpharetta the next, and Gwinnett the next. Okay.
But they generally, the majority of the time, they're having the same teaching every Sunday because I mean, Andy's streamed everywhere.
Sure.
So it feels like you're just at a different campus.
Yeah.
And less at a different church.
Ryan, have you noticed that when we talk about Andy Stanley, it's like talking about Cher. All you have to say is Andy, and everybody knows who Andy is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like saying, in church world, you say Andy, we know who Andy is.
Well, like I looked at, I'll share this real quick. I was going on my memories this morning on Facebook, and I saw, I got to meet him a little while back ago, and one of the things I remember he said was, if Jesus was worried about guilt by association, he would have stayed in heaven. So like, I mean, he is the man when it comes down to like taking like a nugget of truth and just wording it in such a way that people retain it.
Well, his book, Communicating for a Change, hands down, has been the most influential preaching book in my life, hands down.
It's good.
I mean, of course, outside the Bible. I mean, it's the for me, how he crafts his message and comes up with a sticky statement. All of that, it's so. I mean, it just works for me.
Yeah,
it does.
I remember when I got into ministry, one of the first books I read was, I think it's. Please forgive me on the title, but I think it is 7 Habits of Highly Effective Ministry. And I remember one of the points, like remembering that was like, think steps for people, not programs. Because if you think steps, you're helping lead people somewhere versus a program, you're just facilitating them.
That's good. I like that.
So I remember that was like one of the first ministry books I ever read. And
did Reggie write that with him?
I think he might have.
Yeah.
I think it was like a conglomerate of him and no, I'm trying to remember the other guy's name. But there was there was 5 original at North Point, and 3 of them wrote the book. So
yeah, that's great. So you've played around. You've landed with Noonan City.
I have,
which we're thrilled.
Yeah, I mean I am too.
I mean I remember hearing you for the first time lead, and I thought, wow. I mean, I thought, man, God's hand is on this young man, and then getting to know you, and then falling in love with you and Ashley and Ellery, your precious daughter, and then when it looked like there was an opportunity for you to come on board at Noonan City, I just was giddy. I thought, man, I cannot imagine us being able to, you choosing us to be part of our team. Because we're not big, we're not the big church. We don't, you know what? We don't have Ryan. We don't have a haze machine, do we, Ryan?
Not yet. I'm just kidding.
Ryan, for those who don't know, Ryan and Teresa are part of our church, and so no haze machines. We don't have any strobe lights.
I mean, I'm really bad about saying if you're going to have a haze machine, you might as well put nicotine in it while you're at it. You know what I'm saying? I mean that's basically what it is. I mean, you can get your pina colada. You can get haze that smells like pina colada too. Like it's weird.
That is weird. That is weird. Very, very weird.
And then the question is, Drew, if you're listening, it's like, is it water-based or oil-based? It's like, I don't know. I don't really care. But,
talking about the pina colada? Or?
No, the haze.
Oh, the haze.
Yeah.
So there's different types of haze?
Different types of haze, different types of smells. It's a whole deal. Yeah.
I'm feeling such like a middle-aged guy.
I feel that way because, I only know this because I hear people talk about it, not because I actually I'm trying to figure out if I want grape haze,
Well, you chose a small venue. Our venue where we worship, our space, if we got every seat filled, every space, we're talking 110, 115, 115 folks. So I know you have led worship for thousands and thousands at one time, and you're talking 100 folks at max that you're here each service. So why would you choose small? Why would you choose small? over big. When our culture, especially in church, I mean, let's face it, church is, I mean, I grew up in the 80s and got into understanding and studying church in the 90s, which, if you recall, our good friend Rick Warren had launched Purpose Driven, and it was the whole Saddleback church growth movement, expand, large, grow, bigger is better model.
I'm smiling right now because I don't know if we're opening up a can of worms or not.
It's all right. This is a good can.
I think, if I was honest, I don't know if I chose small. I think small chose me.
Okay. All right.
I think.
Now, what do you mean by that?
I think I'm exactly where God wants me to be.
Okay.
And I have to put that in like real terms of honesty. I love where I'm at. Mm-hmm. But 3 years ago, I wouldn't have chosen that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Back in 2017, I had a job that I had worked since I was 18 to get. So just for the record, I just turned 32. So that was 3 years ago. So I was 29. So for 11 years, I had been working for this, trying to get this one job. I wanted to be a music director for this one organization. And I was.
And a worship director is someone who...
So I would book bands, pick out set lists, create culture. I love creating culture. Yeah. Pay musicians. It's all of a lot of the administrative stuff that goes on in the modern church world behind the scenes that people just don't see. Mm-hmm. The stuff that people probably don't care about, but I geek out over.
Right.
I really felt like God was asking me and my wife to leave that.
Yeah, sure.
And it was, I went kicking and screaming. I did not go easy. Looking back, I've learned so much more about like obeying God and trusting that where He's asking me to go and what He's asking me to do is for my good, instead of going kicking and screaming, because people get hurt in that process when you're disobedient to God.
Yeah.
And so now, honestly, I don't see Newnan City staying small. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I see the impact that we're making in our community. Mm-hmm. I live half a mile from the church. That is a dream for me. I feel like, there had been times in my life where I drove an hour to go play at a church.
We may be the closest church to your house.
I think you are. Yeah. But I just remember driving an hour to go play at a church that wasn't in my community. And for the first time in my life, I'm a part of a church that's empowered me to do what I love to do in my community. Mm. And so when I say that I think small chose me, I think God has continually been refining me and changing my heart towards corporate worship. Being a little bit more sensitive to the Holy Spirit, being obedient in that process. And then I also think, if I'm being honest, just putting me in a place that really values me and what I bring to the table and empowering me to just be obedient to God. So 3 years ago, I wouldn't have made this choice. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But Matthew now, in following God and being very sensitive to the Holy Spirit, has been able to see that the way that God measures things is not the way that I measure things. Yeah. And that, smaller for me right now is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. It's interesting, the phrase you just used, how God measures things. I think when we can focus on that and do our best to break away from culture, and in our world, church culture, you and I have gone to, between the two of us, multiple conferences. We've gone to all these. We've heard some of the best of the best.
And
speakers.
The worst of the worst.
And the worst. Some of the worst. Most of the conferences I go to, they're good. Most of the speakers are good. And
we hope that they're good if you're paying some money to go see them.
They better be good. The reality is, those pastors that are on the platform, they're all pastors of pretty large churches.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's this undercurrent.
I'm not anti-big.
Yeah, good.
Because I feel like big is, in my mind, is hopefully more people being exposed to the gospel. Okay? So I would rather more people be exposed to the gospel than a select few.
Yep.
But what I think a lot of big churches, this is just my opinion, I could be totally wrong, I think that they sometimes forget where they come from. I think they forget what their heart was when they started. I mean, we just went to that one conference, and what's his name, Alan Hirsch. He mentioned, he took the Stephen Covey quote, begin with the end in mind, but then he added on to it and said, but end with the beginning in mind. Like, don't forget where you come from. And so even for me in worship this past Sunday night, instead of doing a band, we just did me and my wife and an acoustic guitar, and the whole point is to bring us back to where we started. So it's you can't build a bridge to the future without connecting to the past, right, Jimmy?
That's right.
So, anyways,
it's good. That's good stuff. Well, we're coming up on a hard break, Matt, and when we get back, I want to hear how your faith has carried you during difficult seasons.
all right.
And
That's loaded too.
Yeah, it is. You get to choose the season. I'm not going to ask you which season. You just choose a season.
There's some crazy seasons.
It's crazy, absolutely. But how your faith has really, because I know if one thing that I know that we all have in common, we all are looking for hope. So when we get back, you're listening to Faith Works. This is Jimmy Ellison.
You've been around long enough to know good stuff when you hear it. That's why you're here now. Classic Hits, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Premier Roof in Peachtree City is Metro Atlanta's residential and commercial roofing special. Free estimate. Premier Roofing works to make sure insurance companies pay for your new roof. Contact Kyle at 770-298-4741. Premier Roofing.
At Newlink, WOW, local matters. Local keeps our families and businesses thriving. WOW takes pride in serving the Newnan and Peachtree City communities and supporting Coweta County charities and events. For the fastest local internet, call 770-683-1931 and get up to 100 megs of speed for $29.99 a month. Lock in this price, save for the whole year. It's a great value that locals love.
Join us here, live from Newnan, Georgia, as we present the Health, Happiness, and Harmony Hour, every Wednesday from 10 to 11. I'm your host, Dr. Lewis Boynton. Please join us each week as we have new guests and talk about topics related to the psychological world. We're hoping that you will find interesting and helpful topics that will help you have more health, happiness, and harmony in your life. Join us every Wednesday from 10 to 11 at 99.1 WQEE Rock and Roll Radio.
The Warren Law Office, 22 East Broad Street in Newnan, can help you with personal injury, family law, criminal defense, and Mr. Warren is a trial attorney on the federal, state, and city level. 770-251-1289. Warren Law Office.
Discover the hidden treasures of historic downtown Newnan on the Goodwill Ambassadors Radio Show with Mr. Personality every Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, Newnan.
Ever dreamed of being a radio DJ or hosting your own show? Now here's your chance. WQEE 99 Rock the Key is giving you an opportunity to host your own show. If you'd like to get your advertising message across the thousands of listeners throughout the area, here's your chance. Hosting your own show is the way to do it. Perfect for attorneys, realtors, churches, sports talk shows, and more. Contact 678-673-6318 for further information. Host your own show.
Tune in the second and fourth Thursday each month for Know Your Rights. I'm your host, Charles Cobble, and we will discuss your rights and have plenty of information on what those rights are. Every second and fourth Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Hey, I'm Jimmy Ellison. I'm the pastor here at Noonan City Church. I want to thank you. You'll find as you walk through that we focus on 3 areas primarily. One is worship, small groups, and local missions. And our purpose is transforming lives for Jesus' sake, helping individuals experience that transformation. And we use these 3 areas, worship, small groups, and local missions, to help individuals experience that. So you'll get a sense of who Noonan City Church is, and I hope that you'll come and worship with us soon. Take care, and God bless.
Around long enough to remember getting up to turn the channels on the TV? That's classic. Classic Hits. WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Welcome back to Faith Works. This is Jimmy Ellison, and we're talking to my dear, dear friend Matt Morris about so many things, about life in general. And we want to, the title of the show is Faith Works. And Matt, I want to hear, we want to hear just a season of your life when you're on your back, you're looking up, and the only thing you have is God. The only thing you have is God. How did your faith carry you through that season?
I definitely, it's kind of like we were talking about with church earlier. I don't really feel like God ever let go of me in those seasons. And there's been a lot of those seasons.
Yeah.
Whether it been self-inflicted or whether it just been from outside, sources or whatever, finding myself in that place. I'm thinking of all the times right now, and it's just holy crap. My faith gave me something to hold on to. First of all, it was kind of like an anchor. And then by anchoring down, I feel like I was able to tap into the power of God and find peace through Him. That I just wasn't finding doing it my way. It always it's kind of like those moments always kind of feel like you're being sobered up. You've kind of been in a haze, and all of a sudden you can see everything clearly, and you realize okay, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And generally that thing that has to change is generally me.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think so many folks have a hard time getting to that point of saying, okay, there's got to be a change? And most of the time people say, and the change is you. But the reality is the change is me. Why is it difficult for people to get to that point, to just have self-awareness, to own it, and to say, okay, I've got to change in order for things to get better?
I don't know if it's so much I think some of it might be self-awareness, but I also think some of it might be people don't want to. They I mean, they may not like all the tough stuff that comes along with living a life according to their own, way of doing things. They may not like the results, but they don't want to stop doing the things that give them the results. So that to me, the more I've kind of come to those moments, it's been hey, I can either keep doing things my way or I can do things God's way. And by doing things God's way, I have found more peace. I have found just way more favor just with people around me. Just not even just in a my platform or what I'm given to speak into people's lives, but just from a just how people love me. It's crazy to have people just shower you with love, and not have to go out and try to manufacture it myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like so much of my life I've had to manufacture people's love for me. So whether that be my performance, and being a musician makes me feel like I got to perform even more.
Yeah.
So like, doing things like bad relationships, like dating was horrible. I was the worst. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just putting myself in positions I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Doing things I shouldn't.
Sure.
And so I really think that, you know, until they want to stop and they want to surrender, they're just going to keep getting the same results.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And for some, sadly, they go through their entire life and they never learn that.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if, like, we don't talk about that enough.
Okay.
I wonder, you know, this past Sunday, you gave a message and you had a very, very transparent story that you told from the platform that I heard it 3 times, and every time for me, I was uncomfortable. Okay. And I had one of the girls that was leading worship with me. She was like, you know, maybe we should end on like an upbeat song. And I was like, no, like the gospel isn't safe. The gospel isn't, it brings freedom, but like, it's not comfortable. Like it's very uncomfortable. And for me, it was just like, I think we don't really put ourselves in a position enough to be convicted and allow the Holy Spirit to work on us.
Yeah.
We don't want to feel that. It's not fun at all.
And I think that's one of the things that I know as a pastor, it's not all about rah, rah, rah. Let's see how high we can jump.
No, Jesus made us like a few promises, and one of them was that we would face trouble.
Yeah.
He didn't say that like it was going to be like it was going to be a party. He said we'll party when we get to heaven.
Yeah.
He didn't say we're going to be partying while we're on earth. Like, you know, like, so.
Well, and theologically, I believe you do experience joy here on earth.
Oh, of course.
And
yes.
you do have, when the kingdom breaks out. But sometimes when the kingdom breaks out, it's, John the Baptist, kingdom broke out, he got his head cut off.
That's what I'm saying. It's
it's not,
And I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, I feel like we're really afraid to be like those men in the Old Testament. I don't think that means I need to have a Bible and hit people upside the head. I don't think that means I need to be out on East Washington, like passing out tracts or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I do believe it means that like if God asks me to do something, I need to be obedient, and obedience might look counterproductive to the world outside to me, and that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. I agree. It's a real, it's a real struggle. I think I think as a pastor, I've got to keep that on the forefront of, we are about glorifying God with our lives, and we're, sometimes that means transparency and dealing with, tough situations and working through that. And so how do you glorify God now in that moment? Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. So, one of the things that I know that's dear to your heart, we've talked about, worship is worship. It's not a performance. I mean, you touched on that a while ago.
I hate when people call it that. People sometimes do every once in a while. They're like, we need to rehearse for the performance. I'm like, we don't need to be playing together.
That's not good.
No.
So how are you intentional with when you assemble a group of musicians together? What are you looking for? How do you make sure that it's a time to glorify Jesus? How do you do that?
That's good. So my way, it's just my way. I'm not saying it's the right way.
Yeah.
But I generally, one of the first things I look for naturally is like, do people claim Jesus as their Savior? I'm not looking for people that quote unquote have it all together. Because unfortunately, musicians generally, we're a little damaged. I mean, we've gone through some tough stuff, we've been exposed to things that the average person hasn't been exposed to, just because it's very, it's not like 1969, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that flower child mentality is still kind of inside of all of us that play to some degree. And then I look for people that play really well, because I believe that people not only need to value their spirituality with God, but I think they also need to value their mechanics as a musician. And then I spend a lot of time getting to know those people. When Jesus meets the woman at the well, he tells her that God's looking for people that will worship him in spirit and in truth. So I think if you've got a bunch of people on stage that are worshiping in spirit, but you don't know what they're walking through Monday through Saturday, then I don't think that you have a group of people that are worshiping in truth. And so I spend a lot of time getting to know my musicians and worship leaders.
Pastoring them.
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Shepherding them. Yeah.
Just getting to know, like, what they wrestle with, and then letting them know that, like, I'm going to walk life with them, and that, I'm not condoning any bad behavior, but I'm also not going to throw them away. I'm not going to cast them off, and we just do life. Like, that's kind of how I do it, and I pray a lot. I pray a lot because, like, I'm hoping that I'm being obedient to God and how he's called me to lead people. And I just really feel like I need him to show up, because I feel like if it's up to me, I'm going to mess it up.
That's good. That is good. And I do know that you are a person of prayer. And you're also a person who studies the Word. I've seen you in your private life and how you study the Word, as well as your public life. And you said your mom taught you to love the Scriptures.
A lot, yeah. We actually we had this book. It was before the bracelets came out, but it was called "What Would Jesus Do?" And it was about.
And it was before the book.
It was before the bracelets.
Before the bracelets.
Yeah, yep. Wow. And I think it was the children's version of the Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically, it was about these two little rich kids back in like the 1800s, whatever, and there was like this little poor kid, and it was about like how they treated each other. And then, so every morning my mom would like read us parts of that book, and then she would give us scripture, and she would teach us the scripture and stuff. And then my dad went to seminary, so then my dad would come home and then basically work out all the stuff he's learning at seminary on all of us kids. And so, like, I probably shouldn't have known what systematic theology was as a 10-year-old, but I did. And
yeah, I don't know if that's healthy.
I don't know either, Dad. I'm sorry if you're listening to this right now. But it did help make me the person I am today.
Absolutely, so. Absolutely. And I'm constantly amazed at how you draw. Say, oh yeah, it was Obadiah who said da 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 da. Oh yeah, Zechariah said da 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 da. I'm thinking, is that in the book of Hesitations? What book is that? What book is that?
First to Second Opinions.
Opinions, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
That is funny.
But yeah, I mean, like this morning I got up. I got up around 7. Made some coffee. Sat down. We're in Luke 7 right now, so I was reading that, and then I also go and read in other translations just to kind of dig in a little bit more, kind of see different angles to the story. And then we bought those seedlings at the conference. So I was reading about the Sermon on the Mount, John Wesley's talk about that. And so for me right now, it's just about whatever I'm taking in the morning, just trying to apply that throughout the day.
Man, that is so healthy, so healthy. Yeah. So you and Ashley, you got...
She's the better part.
Oh, is that an understatement or what?
I outkicked my field coverage.
That is so true.
Very.
You guys are writing some music now.
We are.
Yeah. And so what does that look like? Do y'all say, hey, let's write a song, you just get the guitar, or is it okay, you schedule it, or what does that look like as a husband and wife?
Well, that's how I got
You get in a fight first. So you get in a fight, and then
that's happened. Yeah, that actually has happened.
And then you write a song together.
And it might not be like a fight between us, but like, family dysfunction, that kind of thing. But that was actually how we had our first date. I was like, you like to write country music. I like to write country music. Maybe we should get together and write a song. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, and then later I was like, do you want to grab lunch beforehand? So, yeah. And then our first date.
Smooth talking devil,
Our first date was 12 hours writing a song. Like,
really?
Yeah, we were in a basement at our parents' house, just plowing away at a song, and we wrote it, finished it. It's very special to us, and it was really good. Like, we were like, this.
And
is
that's pretty
good.
cool, Ryan. Now that's cool. You write a song on your first date, and you have that song forever and ever.
Yeah.
And now all right.
Like, she won't even let me. I have this guitar that I've wanted to like give away to people or
Right.
like sell or just do something with it, and she's like, no, you can't. We wrote our first song on that one, and I was
You
like,
need to get in a shadow box or something.
Probably,
hang
yeah.
it up in your house or something.
But we've I would probably say between the two of us, I know Ashley, when we first met, had over 80 songs written and cataloged, and then I think between the two of us, we probably have 150, between 150 and 200 songs. Last year we wrote 30 songs in 6 months.
30 songs in 6 months. That's like,
yeah, we were pumping them out.
That's where do you get the ideas for that?
So some of them, like especially like corporate worship stuff's based on like what we feel like God's communicating to us at the time.
Yeah.
So it might be like a phrase I sit on for a while.
Yeah.
The second song we ever wrote, we actually just recorded. We just finished recording a 10-song record for her.
Okay.
And one of the songs is it's about Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
And but it's every song I've ever heard about that. You know, when you hear like "Take the Money and Run" by Steve Miller Band or "Modern Day Bonnie and Clyde" by Travis Tritt, it's always written from the guy's perspective. And that day, Ashley has a better voice. I'm not ashamed to say it. I have to, you know, when it says God's strength is made perfect in your weakness, that's me with my voice. But Ashley, we wanted to write a song from Bonnie's perspective. So we did all this research about Bonnie. We went and drove through Meriwether County and went to the covered bridge where they filmed Lawless. And we just dove straight into that. And that actually, the second song we ever wrote is probably one of the best songs we ever wrote. And it's called Bonnie's Song. And it's just her perspective. And so, like, we'll have moments like that, or we just finished one called Back to Nashville. And
which I've heard, and maybe my favorite of y'all's.
Yeah. It's really, like, it started out from Ashley's, just all of her heartbreak that she dealt with the music industry in Nashville. And the hook is, if I make it back to Nashville, I'm over loving you.
Yeah.
And it's not about, like, some people could listen to it and be like, oh, it's about like a love song. It's like, no, for us it's our way of saying if she ever makes it back to Nashville, then she's over the past.
I put it past. Yeah, that's good.
So it's just that kind of stuff. Sometimes we might sit down and try to write a song and we just cannot get on the same page. We sat on a verse to one song for 3 years before we finished it. And when we finished it, we were like, man, this song's awesome. But, like, we sat on that verse for 3 years. We never touched it.
I've been trying to pitch you guys a song. Let's take a bypass around my bad past.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to know where I've been.
Yeah.
Too many speed bumps,
I
roadblocks have
don't
taken
remember
their toll on
this.
this man. What I need is loving and a good friend to help me on the road again. Let's take a bypass around my bad past. Because you don't need to know where I've been. Now that's, Ryan, that's a country song. Don't you think that works?
Copyright symbol. So that way, you know, you just recorded it right there, you know, so nobody can steal your lyrics, you know.
You know what? I'm at a point, if somebody would just take it, I would be honored for them to take it.
You're like, just steal my song and make it a number one. I don't
steal
care if I don't make any royalties. It's cool.
Bypass around my bad past. I like it.
Yeah.
It's
just a mouthful.
Just call it. It is. It's tough to, and if you're singing it fast, it's tough to articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like saying fuzzy wuzzy was a bear. You know, it's like, all right. Yeah. But yeah, we love writing. Our daughter has already started kind of like gravitating towards guitars and
keyboard.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's definitely who we are. It's what we do.
That is so good. Well, what's next from Matt and Ashley?
So just keep doing ministry. We felt like God put it on our heart recently to do a combined worship night for local churches.
Yes.
So we're leading that. That's going to be November 9th. We're calling it Awaken Noonan.
Awaken Noonan.
Yep.
And it's on Saturday, November the 9th.
Yep.
And it's going to be at
Heatherwood Baptist Church.
Heatherwood.
I think we decided at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
But we haven't talked about it. It's very much in its organic grassroots phase right now.
Yeah. So are you going to be, somebody wants to go to that? How do they find out more about it?
I don't know yet. We haven't when I say we're really trying to honor the sincerity of just having a night of worship. We haven't created a social media account.
Right.
There's just nothing like that because we're so focused on just trying to be obedient to God.
Yeah.
But we'll probably, those of us that have access to certain information will probably start letting people know about it soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably say we probably post it on NCC's page.
Yeah.
And hopefully these other churches will hopefully adopt it and share it as well.
Yeah, so that's great. Well, Matt, it's been so good having you on the show today.
Thank you for asking me.
Just to hear a little bit of your story and some of your thoughts on big church, small church, worship, performance, a lot of different things. Songwriting with your wife, 12-hour first date, songwriting.
It was cool.
That's a pretty amazing.
So we had lunch that day, wrote the song, had to take a break in the middle of the song because her mom made dinner. So I had dinner with her family as well that same day, went back and finished the song. So
met mom and dad on the first date.
Yeah.
That's intense. That is intense. Did you eat in front of them?
Oh, yeah.
No problem?
Yeah. I didn't use the restroom, though. I was really nervous.
It went all day.
Yeah, all day. I was so scared. I was like, dear God, get me out of this house soon. I got to go.
We'll cut that out of the show. Friends, it has been so good to have you with us today. Matt, thanks for being here, buddy. And
it's my pleasure.
Friends, we'll be back this time next week. Take care, and God bless, and let's make it so that our faith does indeed work.
Thanks for tuning in to Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison from Noonan City Church. Tune back in here next week for another edition of Faith Works.